Hello and welcome to the last episode of Brandon's Face for the year 2021. My name is Brandon with the Face.
And I'm Jonathan.
Hey, Jonathan. Everything good, my man?
Yep, just ready for our highly anticipated season finale. Hopefully, we don't Game of Thrones this and disappoint people, our three
Oh man.
fans.
Oh man. Well, for the three fans that do listen to us, thank you. Let's kind of just jump right into the
Yeah, let's go.
singles. So Lane 8 put out another song from his upcoming album, and it's called Nuclear Lethargy. I threw this on here. It's groovy as fuck. It's an absolute banger. It's exactly what I want from Lane 8.
Yeah, there's few things better than having your playlist start off with a Lane 8 song. I'll say that.
Right.
Because every time it just hits. The song's really good. So far, I think all three singles he's released from the album sound really good. I'm excited to hear it.
You know, he put out an interview where they talk about, or maybe it wasn't an interview, maybe it was just a statement. I think it might have just been a statement on his social media that I saw on some music blog or something, and he kind of takes a new direction with each one of his albums, and he says that this one is the most dance floor heavy album that he's produced.
Ooh.
So I can kind of feel that in these. It's less pretty than his last album, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, it did have a little more of a groove to it. I like that though.
Yeah, yeah, same. Well, moving on to something groovy, we've got Boy Harsher with "Give Me a Reason." Did Boys Noise do a song with Boy Harsher? Is that why I follow him? Them?
I have no, I've never heard of this group
Oh,
before.
all right. Well, I follow them on Spotify, and yeah, man, this is dark and synthy. I really dig this.
It feels like something like a group he would work with. The song is really cool. Same exact notes, pretty like really cool dark synth pop vibe to it.
Yeah,
Very
man.
minimal, feels very 90s inspired.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't know how like this style would play out over an album, but I would check it out. I enjoyed the song for sure.
yeah. I really enjoyed this one, and I think I've skipped a couple that he's put out or they've put out a number of times for the playlist. But this one, when I listened to it, I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's that shit."
Yup.
All right. Well, next up we have Brent Fayez,
Close enough.
Mercedes.
Yep. I'll jump in on this. So I've listened to this song like 5 or 10 times, and I still could not tell you one thing about it, what it sounds like, one lyric from it. I know his voice sounds good because it always sounds good, but I don't know. There's just something that is not memorable about this song, even though it's good. And I feel like everything since Gravity really just hasn't hit me. He's one of my favorite, like, of the current R&B generation, but this one didn't get me. What about you?
You know, I like the beat. Those are my notes.
Okay, yeah, yeah. See, so I'll take that as an agreement with me.
It's not revolutionary, my man.
Yeah, there's not enough of like a catchy melody in it to keep you like, that's that song. It's just
Right.
like this is a guy with a good voice showing you that he has a good voice, which nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of in one ear out the other thing.
Yep, I agree. I agree. Something that was not in one ear out the other. We've got Corday with Sinister featuring Lil Wayne.
Yeah, man.
I love the Wayne feature on this.
I agree. Hearing Corday rapping with Lil Wayne on a Hit Boy beat is just great. That's all around everything I want to like get, you know. I don't take moments like that for granted because you never know like how hard it is to get artists like this crossing paths to work together and to put out something not that doesn't just feel phoned in or kind of like, oh, well, I got this unfinished song if you want to throw a verse on it. This feels collaborative in a way. It's a short song, but I feel like it goes by even faster because of how seamless it is. And I don't really have like a lot to say about this. I'm just really excited to hear the new album now. What about you?
Same, man. I've kind of dived through over the past few months into Corday's entire discography, and I love basically everything this dude has put out. It's quality rap.
Yeah, The Lost Boy is one of those personal favorites of mine from the last decade. And I don't think I found it really until like the pandemic. So I didn't hear it in 2019 when it dropped. And I had never really heard of his like YBN era stuff when he was part of that group, but he's still super young. The dude's really talented, and I think he's only getting better. I think this album will have a lot more surprises than just the singles are letting on to. So I'm just really excited. We could have an early album of the year contender, dare I say it. So something to look forward to, and it's going to be on the first big release day of the year, which is the 14th.
Yes, and it's cool. It's cool seeing, like you said, just to mirror what you said. It's cool seeing Lil Wayne working with people like this. So, and it's cool to see Corday working with people like Lil Wayne.
Yeah,
So,
a reinvigorated Wayne, nonetheless. He sounded good these last 2 years.
yes, he has. He probably laid off the promethazine, or maybe he's back on it. We don't know, but
He definitely is not.
it's off.
He's probably doubled his dose.
I mean, how many more styrofoam cups can you have?
The guy's an alien, man. Let's just let him be.
I think he's a goblin, isn't he? So something like that. All right. So next up we have SZA with "I Hate You," and the album cover is great. So
Yeah, classic little screenshot. I love this like modernist album cover shit.
I
I don't
know.
think the Drake one worked, but I think this works quite well.
Oh, that cursed album cover, Jesus. Oh
Did
man,
you have anything to say about this one, or would you like me to go?
she's got a great voice, man.
Yeah, she's one of the best singers in all of R&B right now. This song's great, but all of her songs are great. I just hope we get an official follow-up to Control sometime soon, because whether or not it's your favorite R&B album of the last decade, it's definite that comes down to personal preference, but it's definitely without question maybe the most successful R&B album of that decade. If you look at the like play counts on that album, it's just out of control what every song was doing. She's in the same tier of artists as like Frank Ocean and The Weeknd, but her label just has not, who is Top Dog, by the way, has
Oh,
not properly capitalized on the momentum she got from that album's success. She has been very vocal about how badly she wants to release more new music and put out a new album, but it's out of her hands. Top Dog is clearly going through a lot of changes right now with Kendrick Lamar leaving after his next album. I just hope whatever drama is going on like behind the scenes at that label right now gets figured out, because it's holding up a generational talent from being able to release more than this and actually start building on their legacy.
record label contracts are a double-edged sword, and they can work in your favor a lot of times, and other times they can work to your detriment. And yeah, I'll agree with you there, man. I'm not a huge R&B guy, right? But I can still recognize when you've got a killer, and clearly Top Dog has been promoting other things and focusing on the hype that Kendrick creates, and all of those other players. So hopefully we get a new album from SZA next year.
Yeah, I hope so, because everything she's put out has been at least high quality, whether or not it's your style.
Fair. Yeah, that's really fair. Speaking of high quality, we've got three version 3 songs from Cascade off of the Fire and Ice album, which is always going to hold a real special place in my heart.
It's my favorite Cascade album.
Yeah, it
He had
is.
the big three run with Strobe Light, Dynasty, Fire and Ice. But Fire and Ice is the one that I have like a personal connection to, because I retroactively found Dynasty and Strobe Light. So I got to discover those when I was like getting into the genre. But Fire and Ice came out when I was at like the peak of my, I guess, rave days, for lack of a better term, with you. And that album was pivotal. I at first I was a little like, do we need a third version of all of these songs? Like, what is that called? Slushy? Like, I don't know what the middle consistency is, but I all of these are really good, and I'm happy that he's not just like revisiting the project, but kind of giving it its flowers this many years later.
I love that. I will say that Fire and Ice is probably the most nostalgic album for me, Cascade wise. I think musically, I think Automatic is just a exactly where that level of house music needed to go, and I think he really pushed it where it needed to go with that album. But Fire and Ice it's always going to hold a very, very special place in my heart, as will Cascade. I've seen him twice well, three times. One time I didn't like it, but yeah, it's these are great odes to some really beautiful music that he's released, and I'm glad Fire and Ice put some fire in your new shoes, man.
That song is not on Fire and Ice.
Well, you said you discovered Dynasty.
No, you're right. Okay, you're looping it into my entire review. I see.
Exactly.
I see.
Come on,
I
man.
retroactively take back my snark. Let me ask you this: are any of the Ice versions your preference, or when you think of the album, do you think of like the way it plays through the first songs the first way?
I have not revisited a lot of the Ice versions of that album. It's mainly the Fire versions of those songs. But now you've challenged me, so I'm going to revisit them. But I will say, Ice, specifically the song Ice, is very special to me. We had we went on a little road trip to San Diego, me and a bunch of buddies, and my boy, he ended up burning a CD, and on this CD was the first time I ever heard Fire and Ice, and it was that song. Just I don't know, man. Driving through downtown San Diego, listening to Ice, fucking blasting it, man. It was a good trip.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome story. I love that.
Always brings me back. Always brings me back.
Yeah.
Lessons in Love was really good. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we saw him on the Fire and Ice tour as well in 2013, which was a really fun
That's
crowd.
fucking awesome.
Really fun crowd, man. We had this group of dudes in front of us that were just having the time of their life. This was before it was at Coachella, and it was before the Sahara tent expanded into this giant conglomerate of the festival grounds, and it was just the same regular size tent. And man, that was a special show, special album, special DJ, special producer, special show.
Yeah, phenomenal. I'm guessing he's going to be releasing a full version of this album pretty soon, like a V3.
Maybe. I'm here for it. I really liked these versions, these kind of down-tuned versions of the songs. Lessons in Love kind of took me back a little bit, because that song's actually pretty hard on the Fire version, and hopefully one can help.
It looks like we didn't add it, but it looks like he added a version of How Long as well, so it looks
cool.
like we're headed that direction. Yeah,
awesome. Well, I'm excited for that. I'm curious what he's gonna do with Eyes. So
yeah, that's my favorite on the album. So I'm always an intro sucker. Like the first song you hear of a great album, there's something magical about that. Eyes is definitely the one I'm looking forward to hearing the most of.
It was one of the best openers of that era, and that song defined like EDM as a whole for like a good few months, man. And it's funny because these songs didn't get any radio play at the time. We didn't hear Eyes on the radio, but I heard it everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, totally. Like the EDM that was transcending radio then was so much different than what it is now. And Eyes, I don't think it will ever be like a radio type song. I hope we eventually get like a just general FM station that plays stuff like that versus it being like a niche late night things on some stations.
Right. I was just going to say, you can just wait till 2 a.m.
But like, really, what's the difference between some of his songs and a modern pop song other than it's just not a pop star, singing it, like he could do what Zed does if he put a commercial name as the vocalist on a lot of his songs. I feel like he just doesn't do it.
Yeah, that's funny. I just revisited Clarity for the first time in a long time, and you're right. Cascade could have been as big, but I think he is too. I think he's too much of a house music purist to make it commercial that way, and clearly he's doing something right. So,
yeah. All right. Fun little John segment that I'm going to randomly throw at you because
Let's
I
do
like
it.
putting you on the spot.
I love being put on the spot, sir.
Who will release an album next? Nero or Zed?
Fuck. So if we get those two artists are going to be very different album drops. If we get anything from Nero, it's going to be a surprise. It's going to be on like a Wednesday, and they're just going to drop it and then go do a BBC Radio 1 Essential Mix. Zed, on the
Mm-hmm.
other hand, is going to need to promote it and promote it and promote it because that's just the way
He's
he
part of
does
the
it.
big machine.
He's part of that machine. I can see Zed releasing an album before Nero, though. Nero, I think, I don't know.
I agree. Zed has a lot more commercial incentive to do so because he has like partnerships with fucking Target and shit. But Nero has a lot of commercial appeal too, in the sense that I think they've done like Apple commercials and stuff like that. So both are sorely missed, but we're spoiled this year, so I won't complain. But
Right.
I just want them to know if they're listening, we haven't forgot you.
Nero, if you're listening, please release more music. I'm gonna throw it in the show notes because every time this group comes up, everybody needs to hear it. The Nero Essential Mix from 2012, after they released what's that album? The
Big
one, the
album.
big album. I forget what it's called.
I'm gonna look it up because it will drive me crazy.
Right. I want to say
Welcome Reality?
Welcome Reality. That's it.
Yes.
The Nero 2012 BBC Radio 1 Essential Mix is pivotal. It took everybody by surprise, I think, because everybody had heard the one song on that album, and they just took it on a complete. They just took. It's a 2-hour journey through that era in music, which was very special for the EDM area because electro and dubstep being blended, those two groups didn't really hang out. Like there was a lot of it's a good one. Everybody listen to it.
Yeah. It was a huge release, and I think it's essential listen more than just being an essential mix.
Absolutely, it's a good one. It always, and in fact, I listened to it. I don't think I listened to it in 2019, but I've listened to it. I want to say at least once a year, maybe zero point 0.8 times a year. But since it's been released, like it was pivotal.
That's how good it is. Yeah, it
It was
deserves the
pivotal.
once a year treatment at least.
Right. Well, let's not move. Let's not get stuck here. Let's move on. We got No Taker next with "Life's a Glitch and Then You Die," which is a fantastic song title.
Yes. Fantastic. Good song, great title. No Taker songs always make me feel like I'm flying through space, and I love it.
Super atmospheric, really glitchy. Absolutely loved it.
Terrific.
Next up, we had Paul Oakenfold and Zoo, which was a weird combination and kind of why I added it, so we could talk about Paul Oakenfold for a second. I really dig this track. There's way too many Zoo elements and not enough Paul Oakenfold in this. What were your thoughts on this single?
I completely agree. This feels like I don't know. It just didn't hit for me. I got really excited when I saw their names on the same track, but I just don't really like it. It feels like more of a Zoo track, but it also feels dated.
If there were more Paul Oakenfold elements and it felt dated, I almost would have appreciated that. But it's a Zoo track that maybe I don't know, man. It was released by Paul Oakenfold with Zoo, not the other way around, which is just weird, man. And then Velvet Cash, I don't really know who that is. Anybody who's not familiar with Paul Oakenfold's music, please go listen to Bunka. It's his 2002 album, and it is, it's that golden era of EDM before it became EDM. So,
Yep. Back in the like ATB days and shit. That
oh
was
man.
great times.
I tried to find a vinyl of ATB's. What's the song?
Till I Come.
What's the album? It's Moving Melodies from '99.
Gotcha. Ooh, that's a good one.
It was never released on vinyl. I
Wow.
can get a CD. Do you think we'll ever get? Do you think we'll ever get shit like that? That was like fucking like some Bass Nectar vinyl or something like that. You know, like do you think we'll ever get anything like that?
Only if there's a monetary incentive to, like the way that a lot of these old Japanese labels are starting to release city pop compilations of songs that they probably haven't licensed in 30 years, because if there's a sudden demand for vinyl of that, then yeah, they'll do it. But I don't think they're going to just do it. The artist might get them to do a small batch for an anniversary, but I don't think it's going to be a readily available type thing.
Well, I think, and somebody correct me, but I think Moving Melodies was put out by Astral Works Records, and I think that if ATB or Astral Works or one of the label mates decided to post on social media that ATB's Moving Melodies was going to be on vinyl, I think it'd sell out immediately.
It would.
That's just my 2 cents.
Easily, in a heartbeat, it would sell out.
It's a classic. That and Bunka by Paul Oakenfold, which I also can't find. Alrighty. Something fun, something neat. We've got Beats Antique with Surges.
Yeah, so I thought that the artwork for this single sums up the entire vibe of the song, and Beats Antique as a group perfectly. It's like weird snake charming music. I don't know if I'm a particular fan of it, but they sound good at what they do. It's just not for me.
It's glitch country folk bass music is what I wrote down.
Of course it is. Yes.
Well, let me make this into something you hate. This is post glitch folk bass.
God damn it.
It's so simple, man. This song is very simple. But the use of the unique instruments or plugins or whatever they use to make these specific snake charming sounds I think is what sets obviously this apart. And yeah, man, this is neat.
Yeah, again, good at what they do, just not my type of music.
Super duper fair. Something that I know is your type of music. We've got Alice in Wonderland with Fuck You, Love You. Man, she's been killing it.
Yeah, man, we finally get a new song of hers to actually cover. We haven't heard from her since the Body Ocean remix of Anything came out in like February.
Yep.
And I think that was Anything was the only song of hers that came out in like 2020. I really liked her last album, Awake, and I've been waiting to see how she'd follow it up. I like the direction she's going. It's still dark and heavy. The drums are fucking incredible on this. She didn't announce a specific date or title yet, but she said she will have a new album out sometime next year.
Nice. Well, I'm excited for that. This was a great song. Dark, moody, kind of broody, you know?
Yeah.
And heavy. I liked it. Really liked
different.
it. Definitely different. Well, next up we've got Lucky Day with Candy Drip. This is the beat's cool, man, but it's just not really my jam. I just don't think I relate.
That's fair. I think I personally like this song, but it also reminds me a lot of Channel Orange, Frank Ocean, and a lot of that is because of the beat. It has the sound. It feels like drenched in the sunshine and soul. It's got that aesthetic to it, I guess.
Yeah.
This is the title track off of his new album that will be dropping sometime next spring. We'll definitely cover that when it comes out. Hopefully there's some stuff on there that does hit you.
For sure. Maybe it'll grow on me. I listened to it a handful of times.
Yeah, it's an interesting production style for R&B. Definitely not everyone's thing.
It's a little different. Well, moving on, we have another single from Under Oath's new album, Voyeurist, that will be coming out, I believe, in February.
Can we just put the album together with the amount of fucking singles we've gotten from this album at this point?
Yeah, I guess. I'm honestly, I'm not fucking mad at it, man. They've got some really, really good songs here. I'm so hyped for this album, man. That's all I have to say. It's going to be pretty good, I think. This has to be the last one, right? This has to be the last single.
Yeah, it has to be. It comes out January 14th.
January 14th.
Yeah, it's super heavy, super technical, like everything else we've heard. Get some good Aaron vocals on the bridge. I'm just ready for the album, like you.
Yep, it's I have a feeling it's going to be a good one. We'll talk about it next month.
Me too.
Alrighty, so this is a band that we have never talked about, a band called Broken Social Scene. This is a song called This House is on Fire. I want to get your thoughts before we talk about the band.
I it bored me. I don't know why. I don't know if it was just a little bit off like mood for me at the moment that I listened to it, and I don't know if all their songs sound the same. So I'm not saying them as a group all like have boring songs, but this song in particular was just a little prodding, I guess, for me. What were
So,
your thoughts?
so this was the first new release from them in a long time, and I discovered them. I want to say late 2019, back when I was on my nothing but indie kick.
Hmm.
This
You're
is not
still on that kick.
always, but this is not my favorite Broken Social Scene song, but it's new and I wanted to throw it on here. This is a B-side, or rarity, whatever they want to call it. It's there. I think they're going to release a couple more like this, and rarities and B-sides for indie music. I mean, when the A side is also a B side, you know what I'm saying? Kind
Yeah.
of get that feel. The band structure, though, and I threw this on here so we could talk about the band. The band rotates, kind of similar to the way Arcade Fire does, but a little bit different. They are what they call a musical collective, and I think they're from Canada, and the band just kind of rotates members, so it kind of keeps it fresh and new. And each album is a little different. Each song is a little different. I like half of all of their albums, but the half that I love. And it's just a very interesting band. I just kind of wanted to throw it on here and talk about them and show them a little bit of love because they do make very good indie music, even if this is not it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting approach, at least. Definitely like a different way of going about music, the whole collective approach.
Yep.
I respect it. I definitely check out more from them. If this is the beginning of a new album, then hopefully either the next single or half of the album, like you said, will be good whenever we hear it.
Yeah, I think there is some Broken Social Scene music that you would enjoy.
Uh, I'm up for it.
I know you are. Something I know you were also up for. We have Kolsch and Dubfire, which is a fantastic combination. When I saw this pop up on my feed, with a song called Louisiana. I don't know why did they visit Louisiana or
Yeah,
something? Because this
I do
is
not get how the title plays into this song. It's got big warehouse vibes. It's like a relentless banger. I don't know what it has to do with Louisiana, but it's a great song.
if this is playing anywhere in this, if this type of music is playing anywhere in Louisiana, I'd be wildly surprised. The track is look, the music is it's amazing. I love this track, but it's kind of a mess, man.
Yeah.
We've got there's a little bit more dub fire than there is Kolsch, but he always throws his attitude in there. It's good techno. There's not much more you could say.
I agree.
Man, so next up we have a Foles song called "Wake Me Up," but it's a Gaspard Auge and Victor Lamance remix. I don't know if I'm butchering those French names, but I'm sure I
Gaspard and
am.
Victor. We'll just say that.
Gaspard and Victor. This is an absolutely incredible remix of an already really good song. I really like
Yeah.
this one, man.
Did we cover the original song?
I believe we did.
Yeah, I think we did last month. That's why I think I added this beyond just it being a Gaspard and Victor remix.
Right.
Can we just have them remix every song?
I
Just
know,
every new
right?
song that comes out. Do you want to talk about their other remix now or wait till we get there?
Let's jump.
Okay. So they also remixed another song that we'd covered or an album, Parcels Something Greater. And goddamn, they're just the best. They took one small line from this song and built an entire new song around it, and it's incredible. Fantastic. Any thoughts on that one?
It's literally the same notes as the full song. They took a fantastic song and made it really cool, man. I loved the Parcels album, and I loved the full song, and I love Gaspard, and I don't know who Victor is, but I do now. Yeah, they killed it with these remixes, and I am super down to hear more from them. And even if this is even if it's just these songs, I'm glad they chose these two songs to rework and fuck up a little bit, because it is it's special. This is good music, man.
I agree, 100%.
This is some yacht off the coast of Spain music. Like this is good shit, man.
Yes.
Oh man. Well, let's talk about some Alicia Keys, man.
All right, buddy. Would you like to go first or me?
Well, I'll jump in here, man. Push just fucking destroyed this song, man. Alicia Keys with the piano and the beat that just is. It's so West Coast. It is, man. I just fucking love Plentiful.
Do you know what that beat is?
It's so familiar. What is it?
So that's The Truth by Benny Siegel. That's one of the first official production credits Kanye West ever got.
Haha, that's why.
Yeah. So I agree, though. The piano build to it was just phenomenal, and the drop into Push rapping over it is just incredible. I could have used an entire song of that. It goes by way too fucking fast.
It really does, man. It really does. And Come For Me is also beautiful. I'm kind of surprised you didn't throw the whole album on here, man.
So
I was almost
did you look at this album?
No.
So you can click into it if you want, but what this is, and I thought this would be funny because we were covering Fire and Ice. It's kind of like her Fire and Ice. She did a whole album, and the first half is all the original songs, and the second half is all songs that are like remixes or sample the songs on the first half to make either new songs or new versions of the old songs.
Neat.
Yeah, it's pretty ambitious, but I skimmed it, and it just wasn't for me. When you hear the first song, and it's that Pusha T intro, and her voice soaring over it, and then it gets into some more just piano ballads for a majority of the album. It doesn't hold that high that it starts, and then the other song on the back half is just it's really pretty. Not quite as good as the Pusha T collaboration, but a really good collaboration between three really good voices for sure.
Well, I think we're gonna have a couple of light weeks coming up, so I might just give it a spin.
You should. Let me know what you think.
Before we move on from this Pusha T, did you know that he wrote I'm Lovin' It?
The McDonald's jingle?
Yup. Additionally, he also wrote Arby's We Got the Meat.
Oh, I can hear that 1,000% for some reason.
I was blown away when I learned this last week. It took everything in my power to not text you about it, because
we got the meat.
Dude, he wrote those, and he didn't get any royalties for I'm Lovin' It, because it was him and a few other people, and I think McDonald's probably just bulldozed through that. But he does get royalties from Arby's.
All right, I'm going to Arby's tomorrow. That settles it.
Oh, jeez, oh man, I haven't been to an Arby's in like 15 years. Sorry, Push, but
also I think we'll be getting a new Push album next year sometime, so fingers crossed for that.
One can only hope, sir.
If we get Kendrick, Freddie, and Push albums in the same year, I'm going to fucking die.
Bro, we have 3 days. We have 3 more days of the year. Freddie could drop tomorrow, dude. You don't know.
Oh, it's not happening. Freddie is not dropping. God, no.
Oh, man. Well, my money's not on it, but I'd welcome it if it happened.
The type of shit that'll be on New Music Friday this week is going to be like Tinashe singing The First Noel or some weird shit like that. Like, it's not going to be anything we want to cover.
Well, you know, we texted about it a little bit, but we can get into it. What are your top 3 Christmas albums?
Top 3 Christmas albums, Carpenter's Christmas, Taste of Chaos Christmas, and Mariah Carey Merry Christmas, of course.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the Carpenters for the classical, Taste of Chaos for the little girl pants scene kid in me, and Mariah Carey for my pop R&B. And it's just a fucking phenomenal album. Oddly enough, All I Want for Christmas Is You is not my favorite song on that album.
Probably because you hear it 8,000 times during Christmas. I lost. We had a bet between me, my wife, my brother and sister-in-law, whoever went the longest without hearing it, won. We all pitched in $10 to an Amazon gift card, which I thought was fun.
That's hilarious. So
Um,
what were your three favorite
uh,
Christmas albums?
Cascade Christmas, The Temptations Christmas, and Bad Religion Christmas.
Beautiful. And
Yeah.
yeah, so we did text about this a little bit previously, and I love how when you were like, "What's Taste of Chaos Christmas?" and before I could even text you back, you're like, "Just ordered that CD."
Oh yeah, it came. It's a good one.
Oh, you listened to it already.
Oh yeah, dude. It was
Fuck
only
yeah,
it
that's
was only
awesome.
$2. How could I
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, it's
How could
not
I
going to
not?
be asked for. They're not going to be asking a lot for that in 2021 for
You
sure.
know, man, I would have paid 10. So whoever sold that to me, up your marketing. All right, let's move on. I just thought that was a fun little tangent.
Oh, I love it.
Switching gears wildly from Alicia Keys, we've got a band called Carnivool with a song called "All It Takes." I found this band earlier this year. I've been on a constant quest for prog metal that is on the lighter side of things vocally, and I think that's apparent by Wheel being one of my favorite albums of this year. Um, and yeah, man, they have a unique way of doing prog metal, and I think this song is great, and hopefully this is the start of a new album because I've kind of dived into their discography this year, and it's good. What did you think about Carnival?
I thought the song was really good. I'm hoping they put out a new album because I'd like to hear it. I also want to point out you have definitely been searching for a lot of new prog metal this year, and for some reason, 99% of it comes from Australia.
Is this an Australian band?
Yes. For like the 100th time this year.
Oh,
It's like an
jeez.
Australian prog. I'll tell you, if you were living in like whatever part of Australia this music is thriving in right now, you'd be at a show every week.
Oh man, that's so funny. Well, what can I say? I have a type. Oh man, that's hilarious. Well, oh, that's funny. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Somebody who's not from Australia, I think, Recondite came in with Nafe. Man, this is super neat. This guy has such a way with the darker side of techno house, whatever you want to. It's something. It's in there somewhere. It's all house, but it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, my notes were very similar. Dark, neat, really cool. I don't know if I'll revisit it, but it was really cool.
I probably won't revisit this track, but I will
I
revisit
would check out
Recondite.
a new drop. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of a new drop, he just put out an album, but he just couldn't wait for next year to drop more music. We've got By Eight by Boys Noise.
Yeah, I'm always happy to see him drop a new song. This one feels a bit random. Maybe he's got a new Strictly Raw coming out next year, or it's a song that didn't make his last album, but decent track.
It's very much Boys Noise.
Yep.
Couldn't not add it, you know?
Yeah,
So.
of course. No. You're not going to get Randy Jackson from American Idol's autograph.
What is that from?
Step brother.
Oh, that's what it's from. God, that's a good obscure quote, man. All right, moving on. We've got FKA Twigs featuring the Weekend with
Mhm.
Tears in the Club.
Yeah. What did you think of this one?
I think that the Weekend on his features needs to drop the fucking auto tune. Other than that, the song is fantastic.
Yeah, I know FK Twigs gets a lot of hype, but I've never really listened to her discography. I know it's kind of like this alt pop R&B adjacent type music. I thought her voice sounded really good on this, and I think her voice with the auto tune works, especially on the chorus for this song, because that's kind of creating the vibe. But I agree. I said I think when the Post Malone Weekend song came out a month or two ago that every song he does on like a dance pop beat like this just kind of sounds the same, but this has a little bit of an R&B groove to it. So I'll say of all the like dance pop R&B type stuff he's featured on, this has been one of the better songs overall, if not one of the worst features.
Yeah, that's pretty apt, man. I did really enjoy the song, but it just sucks when one of the best voices in the industry right now feels the need to fuck with his voice. So
Yeah, but this is the weekend, the pop star now, not the weekend, the great R&B crooner. So it's always going to take some adjusting.
I guess. Uh, Moving on, we have Six Lack with Rent Free and By Any Means. I refuse to call him anything besides Six Lack. Rent Free is very good, and By Any Means is really short, man. I think it's a minute and 30 seconds. Like,
Yeah.
it's a little short. These are good though. I liked them.
Yeah, they're good. They both have that signature black kind of feel. The only thing with these, and a buddy of mine pointed this out to me about these tracks, and if you I don't know if you've ever listened to his first two albums, Free Black and East Atlanta Love Letter, but his first one, Free Black, it came out in 2016, so a year after Bryson Tiller's Trap Soul, and it was like when that very, not to be just overly literal, but like that trap R&B soul sound started like really taking over. And Free Black had this like kind of warehouse version of that. It's very ambient, but very heavy and distorted and dark. And his voice just kind of cuts through it with this like nonchalantness that makes the whole thing work. And his follow-up album was really good, had a really good J. Cole feature on it, but was a little bit more traditional R&B, and he dabbled with some hip hop in there like Bryson Tiller tends to do. But on these, and he dropped an EP last year called Six Piece Hot that was okay, but it's also started this kind of annoying trend where it's like these R&B singers are continually trying to prove that they're great rappers, and they're good rappers, and it's fine when they do it, but it's like a lot of your fan base wants to hear you sing because that's how you made them fans. And it's just like on Rent Free, when he's in his bag, just in that groove, it works. And By Any Means, it's a short song, but like it's him just flowing. So it's not even very memorable because it's like when R&B guys flow, it's like a vibe thing more than an actual lyric thing because they're not the best rappers. And I think although he's talented, I just would wish he would sing a little more. And that's
Fair.
kind of my takeaway from his music at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair. I did really enjoy Rent Free. So we'll see what else he releases, and I like it. So we'll
Yeah, I
see.
think he's due up for a new album sometime next year, hopefully. So we'll definitely talk about it.
We'll see. Well, let's talk about Aaliyah with the Weekend, featuring the Weekend with a song called Poison. There's his voice.
Yeah, so there's his voice, and there is a very poor audio quality of her voice that
Yeah.
there is a jarring difference between. And I talked to a buddy of mine that does some mixing in the industry, and he kind of explained like they took whatever original demo this was and they built the entire mix around that instead of doing it around his voice and tailoring it to make her sound more up to date. You can tell this is a demo that's been added on and quote unquote finished, and I don't think it works. And there's a way to do these songs like the way Drake did the Michael Jackson Doesn't Matter to Me song, and this just isn't it.
Well, it's about time they collaborated. I'm just
I
kidding.
agree.
This is it's a gorgeous song for what it is, but you're right, the mix is completely just off.
Yeah. Oh no, she sounds great, but it's very much a demo I don't think she would have wanted anybody to hear in this state.
Yeah. Well, we heard it.
Her uncle's gonna make some money though, so good for them.
You know what?
All I wanted was her discography on streaming. I don't want them to juice world her fucking discography from here on out. I don't need a new Aaliyah song every week.
Aaliyah featuring Triple Extension.
And Justin Bieber. Yeah. Shoot me in the fucking head.
Now we're just making it happen. All right, let's move on. We've got Roddy Ricch with 25 million from his new album, right? Live Life Fast. You didn't throw the whole album on here, and I'm assuming you skimmed it and it wasn't amazing. But this is a decent song. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't think. Are you a fan of The Box?
I think that song is extremely catchy.
Yeah, okay. So that's one of those like sicko mode songs. Has nothing to do with the artist. It's just like that's what an A plus modern banger kind of sounds like when it's done well.
Right.
And I think it's definitely he's one of those guys that he has a few songs to where I don't know if you know them by name, but he has a song with Mustard called Ballin' that's on the radio quite a bit. That's good. And earlier this year he had Late at Night, which is kind of like that weird pitch shifted R&B soul vocal, and then he's rapping slowly over that. He's got a few songs I like. So yeah, I skimmed the album and I could have thrown it on there, but production wise, it's very good. Vocally, he does that high pitched whine thing a lot that I'm just not into. Um, but this was just, I love the production of this song. I think the beat is fantastic. And I don't think it's going to be quite on the same level as the box, but he's definitely got some talent. And these songs are just fun to fucking listen to. And a lot of the other songs maybe took themselves a little too serious, but this one was just the right amount of fun for me.
You know, I like Roddy Ricch, man. Not in a musical sense, but in an entertainment sense. This is his song. His music is entertaining, and he's doing that well. Can we talk about how many times he says "Rari" in this song?
Not enough.
And how that word is just awful. Like, just say Ferrari. It's literally one more syllable, man. Just say Ferrari. Fuck.
I do not know how these rappers come up with the way that they twist syllables, but it's fucking hilarious to me when you look at it on paper.
It do be like that, no cap. All right, so
It do be.
Alrighty, so that does it with the singles for this month. Let's. Do you have anything else to say on the singles before we move into the albums? Great.
Nope.
Well, the first album, you called me a coward last month, but I threw Taylor's version on here to give you a full 2-hour immersion into Taylor Swift's life and I think this album specifically is about a very specific breakup. I couldn't tell you which one it was from, but I'm just going to go ahead and jump in because I do want to hear your thoughts, but I have many things to say about this. So I'm a Swiftie. I enjoy Taylor Swift's music. I think she gets a bad rap, and I think that she's a very talented musician. I'm not going to do track by track. This is a 2-hour album. But
I'm going to do lyric by lyric.
I think this album's fantastic, man. I'm really glad that she decided to re-record all of her music. I'm sure she was rich as hell beforehand, but I kind of love it when exploited people take their power back. And regardless of how much money she made from all of those albums from her record label, it was too small of a piece from that giant pie. Because I think she probably made that record label billions of dollars, man. She's very popular. All of that being said, Taylor gets a lot of hate for writing music about breakups. I don't personally understand this. Every R&B singer in the world talks about breakups. Every Guns N' Roses has a song about fucking breakups. So does Poison. Like it's breakups and love is a universal part of music. I think what she's written here is it's really a beautiful ode to a relationship while compartmentalizing things in kind of a really artistic and at times immature and also mature way. I think she was pretty young when she made this album, I think early 20s. But she has incredible lyrics matched to really beautiful instrumentals. A lot of her famous hits are on this album. We've got 22, we've got All Too Well, we've got I Knew You Were Trouble. These are all just very famous Taylor Swift songs.
Never Getting Back Together.
Never ever getting back together.
You don't have to say the full name.
Right. So I want to get into a couple of specific songs. The 10-minute version of All Too Well is just absolutely beautiful. Just give the girl her fucking scarf back, bro. She has a way of building worlds and kind of creating scenery through music, and not everybody is even decent at that. And you can still become pretty popular not being good at that. But I think that she's extremely good at that. I think the album's a little long though. I think 2 hours is a lot. It was a lot to sit through all at once, and I actually compartmentalized this album 1 hour at a time. I think I end at Begin Again. Is that the song? Yeah, it's Begin
Yeah.
Again. But yeah, man, I am so happy she re-recorded this. I'm happy she's re-recording all of her other albums. I think that it's beautiful. She has a way of creating scenery, and I think she gets way too much hate, even though she's wildly popular. I think that she's used as a scapegoat for pop music being, I guess, overrated. But her music, regardless of whether or not you think it's overrated or not, it's still really fucking good. And it would be kind of ridiculous to hate on something this good. So, what were your thoughts on Taylor's version of Red?
That's interesting. I I don't disagree with a lot of what you said, honestly. I think this is a giant influential album, and I do think I don't know if hated on because it's overrated as much as there's a perceived inauthenticity to her since the genre switch, which always happens with artists when they do that. But to judge her solely based on that in a genre as artificial as pop and country, which is generally just pop music, is kind of stupid because it's just unfair, honestly. And I get that. And I am one of those people that, like you, are talking about just kind of unfairly does not like her. And I really can't explain why. But I called you a coward because this podcast is about us challenging each other's like musical ignorance as much as it's about appreciating music we like and listening to new stuff that comes out and just sharing music with each other in general. So when you said like you'd been listening to it and you didn't add it, I'm like, what the hell, Brandon? I'm a part of your life. You got to make me listen to this. And I think I don't remember what I'd said before last month, but I'd never listened to the original album in its entirety. We might have been texting about that. So when I listened to it the first time, I kind of compartmentalized it. I looked up where the original album ends, which I think is with Begin Again. So
I
I
believe
listened to
so.
there and then I listened to the rest. And I went into this album with an open mind, listened to it front to back on one of my like long drives through Oregon. Obviously I've heard the big singles from this album, but I've never listened to it in its entirety. So a lot of these songs were really new to me. And after listening to it, I will say that I see why a lot of people like it so much, but it didn't really win me over completely as much as it just made me appreciate it for what it is. And it starts off in the fucking strongest way possible, really. State of Grace and Red are both well written, well produced, and she performs them incredibly well. They're much more up tempo pop rock than I was expecting when I hit play on the album, and they really impressed me. I found most of the rest of the album to be a somewhat of a mixed bag at best, though, um, when it comes to my personal preferences in music, of course. But the only other song I really connected with in terms of like I went back to it out other than those first two tracks was All Too Well. And then eventually the 10-minute version of it, which is, like you said, just kind of a masterpiece of a song. Most of the appreciation I had built up um, over the like first few tracks kind of started to get chipped away by like what I would describe as some semi mediocre pop songs. And I knew you were trouble and we were never ever getting back together. Those two songs, I don't know if it's because I've heard them so much, but they drive me fucking insane. And a lot of the non-singles didn't connect with me, but those were the only two tracks that I thought were genuinely bad and are probably the reason I was never really curious to check out the album in full when it came out. And the quote unquote early stages of dubstep we talked about on Michael Jackson's Invincible sound like Caspa and Rusko compared to the garbage wobbles Max Martin put on I Knew You Were Trouble, my friend.
I know.
So
I
I didn't
know.
give this album a score because I didn't think it was fair to judge
I
something that
didn't
I
give it a score either.
yeah that I yeah it wasn't that kind of review for me, but I appreciate you adding this album and challenging my ignorance even if it only further validated it in some cases.
Fair, man. Hey, this is admittedly not my favorite Taylor Swift album. She's got some great deep cuts, and a lot of her great deep cuts are not on this album. This seems to be a fan favorite, as far as like a whole piece of work goes. But
Yeah.
I personally really liked Folklore more than I liked this album, which is apparently a hot take in the Taylor Swift community. So
Interesting. So
yeah.
don't record this part, but Fearless is my favorite Taylor Swift album if we're gonna actually talk about it.
Yeah, I like Fearless. I do. I think Folklore gets it for me, and 1989 is a lot of fun too, man. So we've got it's good music, and people hate on it just because it's popular to hate on, I think. And I think she's incredibly talented. And when you put her up against pop stars of her caliber, right? You put her up against Beyonce. Taylor Swift has writing credits on every single one of her songs. She doesn't take a whole lot of writing help from people. And when you put her up against, say, a Beyonce or really any other pop star, put her up against them, all of these people have teams of writers, bro. And to get this amount of raw content and raw feeling and raw emotion, and to be able to create scenery with those emotions, I think that's a beautiful thing. I think songwriters. She's got a little bit of Springsteen on this album. She's got a little bit of country, but this was really her shift over into pop. And you know, man, I really dug it and really dig it. And All Too Well, that 10-minute version, like you said, is a masterpiece. So I'm glad you listened to it, and I'm glad you didn't hate it.
Yeah, it was a fun. It was. I'm not gonna say a fun ride all the way through, but it was fun to at least challenge myself.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's good to challenge ourselves once in a while, and I'm glad. Well, let's go ahead and move on. We've got 3 EPs, which is really a full album of music from Tierra Whack.
Sure.
This is exactly what I don't know if you remember, but we were talking about the Jaden Smith album, or Jaden album. He doesn't go by his full name. Why would he? But he put out an album that, in my opinion, was 3 albums, because there were three different complete genres, and he mixed all those songs up and put it out on an album instead of separating them as the pieces of music that he wanted to release. And I think that this is obviously a far better representation of music as a whole. But I think what Tierra Whack did with this kind of split up EP into different genres is exactly. It's super cool. Like, it's super cool the way she did this. So what were your thoughts?
What did you think of the actual music?
So I really enjoyed the rap and pop, and the R&B was not my favorite, although I did like Cutting Onions. I really liked the lyrics to Cutting Onions. Lazy is, I think, my least favorite of all of these songs.
That makes perfect sense. So the whole rap EP I thought was good because that's what she's best at. And even though all of these are 3 different genres, you could all semi-classify them as rap, at least vocally what she's doing, except on songs like Cutting Onions, where it's very much like almost spoken word at times.
Right.
I'll start with the rap songs. These are really good, but compared to her first album, these are all a little bit straightforward in terms of the creative approach I'm used to with her. They're a little bit by the book, and that was kind of surprising, although I did really like the production of them. I thought all 3 of those was great. When we got to pop, Body of Water right away kind of gave me that like Andre 3000, Outcast, upbeat, like energetic fusion of pop and dance and all of those feelings, and I thought it worked. But like you said, once you get to Lazy, it's like kind of a skip. And then Dolly is not great as well, but this is all just kind of part of her tapestry of sound. And like you said, her presenting it in a way that you're like, oh, okay, this is her doing pop, so I kind of know this going in, you know?
Right.
It makes it a little more digestible. And then you get to R&B, which I think is probably her least strong suit, and that shows. But Cutting Onions is definitely maybe the top 5 of all of these songs combined, definitely. I rated it kind of as a whole because I think this is an album together. I gave it a 6 out of 10. My favorite song was Millions. But but it's kind of a weird one to rate. I don't really know.
Yeah, if I didn't put a rating to any of these individually or any of them really as a whole, even though it was in our album section, but if I had to give it a rating, it'd be a 5 or a 6. And
Yeah,
I
it's
really
somewhere in
liked
the middle.
Millions also.
Gotcha. Hell yeah.
Yep. Well,
Well, I
this
know you're excited for this next one.
this was really cool. All right, so I threw this album on, so
Oh
I
God.
need to tell you this story. So I am. This is so interesting. So the music itself is interesting, not my story. My story is probably really boring. But I heard a lot of buzz about albums of the year. Right, we were coming into the end of November or the beginning of December, and everybody was talking about albums of the year. And so I'm plugged into a bunch of different heavy, extreme metal kind of groups, and a lot of people were calling this album of the year. And I was like, no fucking way. I've never heard of this band. How can it be an album of the year category? Well, I listened to it, and this falls under the extreme metal category of technical death metal, or what people call tech death. I think that this is not the most technical death metal I've ever heard, but that first song, Drone Corpse Aviator, really got my mind going. Like, whoa! I don't think I had ever heard really death metal quite like this. Even if I wouldn't classify it in technical death metal, like say Deicide's Scars of the Crucifix would be for me, but I really enjoyed it. This is the first time I've ever liked a triple bass pedal. I've never really liked that in music, in the heavier metal side of things. And man, I just thought this album was too good not to share, man. I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't put it anywhere near an album of the year list, but I will say that I've revisited this album a number of times this month. It is very good. The first 2 days I discovered it, I think it was all I listened to. They're really unique, and I think they are extremely heavy. And I think there's a lot of technical elements to the instrumentals, and the vocals themselves are an instrument. And if you look at it like that, it kind of makes more sense why he does what he does, which obviously rubs a lot of people the wrong way, I'm assuming, especially if you're not plugged into the death metal scene. So I gave this a 7 out of 10. I think Golden Mouth of Ruin is my favorite song on the album, and I am so curious. I'm so curious about what you thought about this, Mr. John. Please enlighten me.
Okay, so I'm gonna just preamble this by saying this is too heavy for me, man. There was a time in my life where I could have fallen asleep to this music, but those days are so long gone. And I mean, hearing it took me back a little bit with fucking, like you said, triple bass pedal blast beats and shotgun vocals like this, where the vocals are as much of an instrument as the music themselves. Like, I guess the closest thing I used to listen to would be, I guess, some grindcore bands like We Came With Broken Teeth and weird shit like that back in the day that
Oh
used
man,
to do weird shit like
Broken
this.
Teeth. That's a name drop.
Yeah, MySpace that one, kids. Uh, but yeah, I every time I hit play on this one, I was like, they're really good musicians, but I can't even like assess this because it's so intense, and I just like I can't step back when I listen to it to like approach it from a critical point. So I didn't give this one a score or anything. I think my favorite song of them was the first one, the Drone Corpse Aviator. They did some really cool grooves on that one with the drums especially. I they're very talented dudes, but definitely not something I could spend a long time listening to.
Can we talk about how cool of a concept Drone Corpse Aviator is? Jeez.
That's a fantastic song name. I was like, dude, you could base a whole album around this.
Like, fuck, man. All right. So, in my 3 days of heavy listening to this extremely heavy band, I found a great video, and I'm going to throw it in the show notes, and I highly recommend you watch it. So they released a music video for Drone Corpse Aviator.
Okay.
And they they had their moms all watch the music video, and they had these parents had never heard the music before. They knew it was heavy and they knew it was metal, but it is incredibly wholesome
That
watching
sounds
these.
hilarious.
It is incredibly wholesome, and I had a lot of fun watching their reactions to, oh, that's a lot of blood. So it's such a good one, man.
Oh
And
my God.
I'm sorry I subjected it to you, although I'm not really. I'm it's very heavy. Which is probably why some edgelords decided that it was their album of the year, because it is very heavy. But I it was too good not to share, man. I got sucked in a little bit. I even listened to it today, I think. So
I know. I appreciate you trying for sure.
it's a good one. We Came with Broken Teeth. I'm gonna throw some We Came with Broken Teeth in the
Is
show
that even
notes.
on streaming? Oh, in the show notes. Okay, yeah, for sure on YouTube somewhere.
I doubt it's on Spotify. But
No way
man,
in
oh man,
hell.
that's a band. That's a name drop, bro. That's a long time ago. Some experimental grindcore, huh?
Yeah,
Interesting.
that was just a fucking weird time in music, man.
Somebody downloaded somebody LimeWired an FL Studio and made grindcore with it, and I cannot be more appreciative of what they did with that music.
Yep.
I will say though that this is it's interesting, man. People call this technical death metal, and maybe technical death metal has changed in the past 30 years, but I wouldn't call that. I don't know what I would call this, but it's not grindcore, and it's not
No.
death metal. But I think if anybody listening enjoyed this album and they want more technical death metal, please look up Deicide if you haven't already. All right, let's move on to something that is more palatable. We had an album called Fortunate by a dude named Kaz. Give it to me, John. What'd you think about
Yeah.
this?
So I thought it was pretty good. We reviewed the first like two singles he'd released off this, I think last month or earlier this month, Fortune and Addicted. And we both thought they were pretty good. He's on Dreamville. His last album was pretty good, so I threw this on here. I thought, yeah, overall it's good. I'm glad most of these songs were released on an EP instead of taking up space on like a next full length album. We talked about Fortunate and Addicted, so I won't talk about those again right now. But there's some really good songs on this. My favorites were Juice Bars and Cry, but I thought there was some kind of bad songs on here too, like So Am I and Control Problems. This won't be an EP I'll be returning to anytime soon, but I'll check out an album if he drops one. This one's like a 5 or 6 for me, and Juice Bars was my favorite.
Juice
What
Bars
about
was my
you?
favorite too, man. It's a great song. It's a lot of fun. You
Yeah,
got that juice.
it needed
Um,
more of that. This whole EP just needed some more of that fun.
you know, he seems pretty young in the game and in life, and I'm sure he's just trying to find his way. So we'll see. Let's look out for more from Kaz. I really enjoyed it, except for
He's got that juice.
he's got that juice. I did enjoy it, but I really kept going back to Juice Bars and Fortunate. So
I agree.
yeah, those are good
Those were
ones.
the highlights for me too.
Well, speaking of highlights for you, let's talk about Khalid's Scenic Drive, sir.
Okay, so boy, strap in. I fucking love this EP or mixtape or whatever the hell it is. I think it's called The Tape, so we'll say it's a mixtape. Khalid's music has always been R&B at its core, but it's been really easy to categorize him as a pop star based on the mainstream success he's had so far. This project shows him embracing the R&B side of his music in a way we've never really heard him try before. The music still has his trademark Khalid sound, especially with the bounce to the drum beats on songs like Present. But they're perfectly accented by a lot of like arpeggiated guitar and very 90s percussive flourishes that create like this really beautiful canvas for him and his guests on this album to create on. All the features feel really good on this. They all match definitely like the vibes of the songs that he placed each person on. And that logic in placing like the right person on the right feature just seems rare each day now. They all feel like genuine collaborations between like-minded artists, and I think that comes through in the final project. The mixtape starts off with a brief intro that's not really a song. It says featuring Alicia Keys. Maybe she recorded this while he was doing that little feature song on her album. And then it goes into the first two songs, which are Present and Backseat, both of which kind of fit nicely alongside of his other R&B heavy hits like 11 or Better, and some of his best work yet, honestly. As good as those two tracks are, though, the best moments I think are on the back half of this album. It starts with Retrograde featuring Black and Lucky Day, just phenomenal collaboration between the three of them. But this album is so good that it's not even close to my favorite. Brand New featuring Quinn, a really good R&B duet, very solid instrumental, well produced. And then we get into what I think is like the 3-song unreal run of this album, which is All I Feel Is Rain featuring Jid, Voicemail featuring Kiana Lede, and Open featuring Majid Jordan. These all have that very like 90s R&B sound to them, and I feel like his voice and melodies just catch the vibe perfectly for it. And then he ends the album with the title track Scenic Drive featuring Ari Lennox and Smino, who both do a great job filling out their parts. The one I keep going back to the most is definitely All I Feel Is Rain or Open. Hearing him with Jid is amazing. Hearing him on a Magic Jordan beat is really cool. I don't think we're going to hear him be like this R&B anymore going forward, but I like that we at least got this tape. It kind of feels like his Genesis series. And I like that he's doing these like in between mixtape type things for his gaps in between full length albums. I feel like it makes it all feel a little bit better. I gave this one an 8 out of 10. My favorite was All I Feel Is Rain. What about you?
So, I also gave this an 8 out of 10, and All I Feel Is Rain is also my standout. My man killed it. Like this is very good, man. I revisited this album like 3 or 4 times. It's which is surprising for me for an R&B album, but it really kind of captured it. And I think, like you said, the 3-song run, All I Feel Is Rain, Voicemail, and Open, really just that he let it go, man. He just did his thing, and everybody did their thing really well on, like you said, it's these all feel like genuine collaborations and not just somebody sending a verse over via email or something like that. You know, like they all seem like genuine collaborations. And yeah, Retrograde is a decent song with Six Lack. We've got the last song, Scenic Drive, with Smino and Ari Lennox, and man, I there's no way to follow your review. I really enjoyed this album though, and I will revisit it. You said that we're not going to see him, probably not going to see him do R&B like this anymore. Do you think that this was kind of a farewell to R&B? I think
we'll get a song or two like this on his next album. I just think you'll get more songs like Talk or Location than you will like anything on this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He wants to make some money. He's got Rolls Royces to buy, right?
Oh man!
But I'm glad you're on the same page. I'm glad
I really enjoyed
this one. I wasn't sure how you would receive it because it's very subtle. It's very 90s R&B, but I felt like it had a really fun production style, and his voice just kind of like floats, and it's really fun to listen to.
Yeah, I really agree to that, and I think that I really enjoyed it. So I think you're slowly making me an R&B fan, man. The first time I hated jazz for like a long time, and then I think 2018 hit, and I heard a Dizzy Gillespie song, and I was like, the fuck is this? I love this, and then just kind of dived in. And there's been a couple of moments this year where you've really shown me that R&B can like there's a place in my heart for R&B, and it just was never open until this year. So thank you for that. And I think that this is a very strong R&B mixtape album, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Agreed, and you're welcome.
Alrighty. Well, something I threw on here, there was an album called Wild Type Droid by Failure, and man, they really did a good job with this album, man. Like, this is really good grunge, garage, whatever the fuck you want to call it, rock music. I really enjoyed this. What did you think about this, John?
Did you rate it at all?
Yeah, I gave it a 7. I think Mercury Mouth is my favorite.
Oh, interesting. So I thought they were good. I like what you described exactly was the parts I like of it the most. The more grungy rock elements of it, like songs like Submarines and stuff like that. That was kind of my standout.
Submarines is a really good
I
song.
thought it was good. It was maybe a little slow as an album, but its highs were good. I gave it a five, and yeah, my favorite was
That opener, Water
Submarines.
with Hands, really kind of shows you what you're going to get throughout the
Yeah,
album because it's really
it
kind of like,
starts off really
it's
strong,
really
and
doomy, you know, like it's
yeah,
really,
Headstand was good too. It starts off really good. It slows down a bit after those first four songs, but I feel like it's a really good album.
I really enjoyed this, and I've been following Failure for a little bit now, and they're good, they're good music, man. You know, people say grunge died in '98 or something like that, and I disagree, man. There's some really good grunge music out there still.
I think it's coming back.
Maybe. I mean, we did have Quicksand release an album this year, which was new. So
Yeah, I mean, and it's having an impact in pop, like when you think of
Olivia
like Biba
Rodrigo.
Doobie. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you want to even get to like that generalization of it or that saturation of it, it's kind of infiltrating everything, whether like kind of trickling down from, I guess, the Pussycat Dolls like aesthetic and
Yeah,
taking some influence from Garbage and Paramore, and that's kind of where we're at now.
yeah. That's right. Garbage released an
What's
album this year.
interesting is I feel like I'm sure Olivia Rodrigo's a songwriter and writes a lot of her stuff, but I feel like these big labels that control these pop artists, they were like, this worked 10 years ago and this worked 20 years ago. Combine these two things and it's gonna work now. And that's a lot of what we get thrown at us, and they're usually right.
Yeah. That's true. It's funny. Everything you don't seek out to find is kind of controlled nowadays. So,
Yeah.
finding some gems like I think this is nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Something. Let's move on to a little album called "Richer Than I Ever Been" by Rick Ross.
Oh,
Go ahead. I'll let you do your thing, man. You were really excited for this one.
yeah, this one starts off four straight bangers, including the instant classic rapper stage featuring Benny the Butcher, a track so good that I think I played it like 10 times in a row the night it dropped.
Good song.
This is two of the best rapping about what they rap about best over one of the most immaculate beats of the year. It's a perfect song. The middle of this album leaves something to be desired. Warm Words in a Cold World through Make It Out Alive are all skips for me, honestly, at least based on like my first few listens. The next real high of the album is Outlaws featuring Jasmine Sullivan and 21 Savage. We talked about that when it dropped, so I won't go into a bunch of detail there. After that, we get a couple more tracks with like Imperial High and Richer Than I've Ever Been. Both are really good, but just not my favorites. I thought the album ended on a really high note, pun intended, with Hella Smoke featuring Wiz Khalifa. This is a great song from production to the vocals and a solid reminder of how good Wiz Khalifa can be when properly utilized. We don't hear from him very often anymore, but I thought it was a great choice to have him close out this album feature wise. The album did not turn out to be the album of the year contender I was hoping for, slash, somewhat hyping on this podcast when it was announced, but I think it is a really good album. And for the most part, gave us at least an instant classic song that I'll be playing for years to come, which is obviously Rapper States. I gave the whole thing a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, Rapper Estates is it's drug dealing music, man. That's
Yeah.
really good shit.
I One of the best songs of the year.
So I will throw music on while I'm working, and every once in a while there'll be an album that I'm listening to, and then I'll just kind of ignore the music in my head. And typically I'll catch it when something that really kind of like makes me look at my phone and be like, "What am I listening to?" And you're right, man. Wiggle, Can't Be Broke, Made It Out Alive. Those are Warm Words. Those I just kind of zone out when I hear those songs. And I'm not a huge Future fan anyways, but Outlaws, Hella Smoke, Rapper Estates, even the Pulitzer is pretty cool. I like the intro
Yeah, the
with
intro
Willie
is good.
Falcone. I like
Yeah.
that. It's a good album, man. I gave it a 6. I think my favorite is definitely Rapper Estates. It's just
How could it not be?
it's so good, man.
Yeah,
But a close second would be Outlaws. Outlaws is very good. That piano,
I
that
agree.
that kind of drawling piano, it's really neat. So,
It's really well done.
Wiz Khalifa, he doesn't do a whole lot anymore, like you said, and man, he's good. I every time I hear him, I forget how good he is, and then I hear him again. I'm like, oh, what's up, Wiz? Um,
And he killed that. I really liked his contribution.
One thing I'll say about Rick Ross, I like Rick Ross better as a feature than I do as an artist, and I think I've said that on this podcast before, and I'll say it again now because that's just what I like. I think he leans too much on his features on his full length albums, also because I think he needs to. It's you can only
I
say
agree. There's a very DJ Khaledness to it about like not look who I paid to be on this album, but like look who I have connections to.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's a thing. All of that being said, though, it's a good album. I mean, I may not come back to the whole album, but I will come back to a number of songs on here. So this was
Same.
decent. This was decent. So yeah, 6 out of 10 for me. All right, so I threw on this this album called Tread by a dude named Ross from Friends, and I have just been dying to hear what you think about it. So I don't care about my thoughts. Tell me about yours.
So I'd never heard of this dude before seeing him on our playlist. So before starting the album, I looked into the artist a little bit. And right away, what caught my eye was that he's on Flying Lotus's label. I'm a
Yep.
big Flying Lotus fan, big Captain Murphy fan, and I figured he would have a great ear for talent. This album sounded nothing like I expected when I hit play. The first song, The Daisy, has this like beautiful ethereal quality to it, and it reminded me a lot of Porter Robinson in the way he approaches making the music from a completely different perspective than almost any other artist in the genre. But this album really can't be defined by one sound or genre. All of the songs feel the same despite being completely different genres at times, with the common thread being quality, consistency, and a soft touch. You get some house tracks like Revelers and Life in a Mind. You get some drum and bass like Triple X Olympiad. There's some really beautiful moments with this like isolated piano, like in Grub, and the emotive vocals on A Brand New Start. Speaking of the vocals, I really, really like the way he incorporates like all these vocal samples and chops into his songs. It adds just another layer that I really appreciate in a genre that can be a little bit monotonous at times. Saying that as a fan of the genre, they feel nuanced in a genre that often lacks subtlety, and I really appreciate that. I thought the album was really good. Thanks for adding it and showing me a new artist. I gave it a 7 out of 10, and The Daisy was my favorite song.
Nice. So as is tradition, I add things to my listen to next playlist and then don't listen to that playlist until I really dig into it. And there's a bunch of shit that I'll listen to, like I'll skim and then I'll be like, get this the fuck out of here. Ross from Friends kept coming up on Reddit, on some blogs that I listen to, on some forums that I'm on, and I honestly I don't like the name. But I guess it rubbed me the wrong way at first, but now I find it rather humorous. Ross from Friends. When, like you, I put this on and I was not ready for what was happening, or it just completely surprised me with the tone, and I think that this is you can't put a genre on it, but it is just so good, man. I think exactly what you said. He's able to kind of let me frame this. So house and techno, they live by very unique, rigid rules in order to be within these genres. And the whole draw to it for me is the fact that there's so much creativity that can come from these very rigid, strict set of rules. I love when people stick to the rules and also break them at the same time. And what you said about the every song sounding the same while being entirely different speaks to the way that this dude specifically creates atmosphere in his song and brings out all of the nuance. House and techno are almost supposed to be monotonous, and yet he makes them not so. Very, very DJ Shadow-ish samples at times. Triple X Olympiad is weird but awesome. The piano and Grub is just beautiful, like you said. Yeah, man, this is. I'm so glad that I didn't even skim this at first. I just threw the Daisy on and just was hooked and listened to it a number of times. And yeah, everything about this album I really, really enjoyed. I gave it an 8. I think my favorite was because of how weird it was. I think I like Triple X Olympiad the best, although it's probably not the best song on the album.
That's a super Brandon pick. I can see that.
Sorry.
No,
actually, I'm not. Okay. Yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I will be following Ross from Friends, and I will be definitely talking about him, them more. Is it a him or a them? I think it's a dude. Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed this, so glad you liked it.
Yes, thanks for adding it.
Yeah, no problem, man. I thought it was super neat. All right, we got a Nas Christmas album called Magic.
Is it? I think I texted you when it came out and said this is a Christmas album. Changed my mind, and yeah, I don't know. There is something maybe not religious about it, but maybe festive about it, and that's because I think it feels like a victory lap in a way to the success of the first two King's Disease, and it's well earned. I think front to back it's produced phenomenally. The credited feature, I think the only main credited feature on it is A$AP Rocky and DJ Premier on Wave Gods. Well placed, great collaboration. I don't really have like notes on this one because it's only been out for a few days, but I'm fucking loving this. I've played it at least once a day since it's come out. It's a brisk 22 minutes, but I feel like he uses the time as well as like Vince Staples used that time on his album. And honestly, like when I turned it on, I was like, oh, this is going to be, some throwaways that didn't make the album. And the more I listen to it, the more I'm respecting it as its own piece of artwork, because it feels like so much more than just a mixtape in between King's Disease albums at this point. I don't have any non-favorites, but I think if I had to pick my favorites, it would be Woo for the Children, 4016 Building, Wave God, Speechless. I love this whole album so far. I have it as an 8 out of 10 right now. What about you?
So I've listened to it a couple of times, maybe 3 times. You're absolutely correct. This is Hit Boy and Nas pouring Gatorade onto each other after winning a Super Bowl. Like this is, it's very, very good. Yeah, man, my only complaint is that it's too short. And can we talk about how good that A$AP Rocky verse is? It's very good. I think my favorite, I liked Hollywood Gangsta. I liked that one.
Nice.
Woo for the Children's pretty good. I didn't give it a rating yet because it's brand new. But I did really enjoy this, and yeah, man, Nas is back, and that's really cool.
Yeah, he's still very, very sharp, very, very capable of putting out classics. And now we have King's Disease 3 to look forward to since it's more or less officially announced.
Amazing. I'm very excited for that one. You said Hit Boy's on that one too?
He will be doing the production on that as well.
Man. I hope he wins the Grammy, man. I think he deserves it. He's a beautiful, beautiful writer. He's one of those guys where it's poetry first and then rap second, and I think that really is exemplified through small projects like this.
Yeah, and just lyrically sets himself apart from every trend and fad that's popped up since his coronation as one of the kings of the genre, and it's fucking just awesome to hear him still like this.
Yeah, he's one of the greats, man. He was in the 90s, and he's still one of the greats. So That's saying something.
Yeah, and think of the people he's worked with, like Lauryn Hill, Amy Winehouse, and now he's working with like Freddie Gibbs, Corday. It's fucking awesome, man. It's his journey is one of the most prolific in rap history.
What were they putting in the water around Queensbridge in the 90s, man?
God
Fuck,
only
dude.
knows, man.
Oh, man. R.I.P. to Prodigy, but Mobb Deep and Nas were both putting music out at the same time in the same area that just exemplifies that the
Mobb Deep
90s.
were like 19 when Shook Ones 2 came out. That is
That's so
unreal that they
crazy to me,
wrote that
man.
shit at 19. Fun fact about my childhood, or I guess even into my 20s. I didn't know Prodigy the rapper and The Prodigy were different artists. And I was always very confused by sometimes some of the places I would see those names. I'm like, this does not fit.
That's funny, man. That's funny. Oh man, yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of Mobb Deep. Murder Music is it really helped shape my hip hop taste.
Incredible
Yeah,
album.
it just absolutely incredible album. Those beats, man. Whew, those are special. All right, moving on to something where there's some really good beats on it. Something we couldn't throw on the Spotify playlist, so we're gonna go ahead and throw the link to this album in the show notes because it is Dr. Dre's album called The Contract. It's a little thing he did with Grand Theft Auto. Go take it away, John.
So yeah, they announced a few months ago. They announced a definitive trilogy remaster edition of like the original big three Grand Theft Autos, 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. They came out to very bad reviews, like fours and fives. It's a very poor coat of paint on an old game. They really didn't put much love into ushering these classics into a new generation for new people to enjoy, or for even the people that enjoyed it back then to revel in their nostalgia. It was just kind of a mess that didn't work and had a lot of inexplicable choices made. And it's really the first big misstep Rockstar has made as a video gaming company in almost, I don't know, a decade or two, outside of a few random things here and
I'm
there.
gonna say I think Vice City came out 2 decades ago, man.
Yeah, no, they've been the pinnacle of gaming for 20 years now. So for them to drop a dud like that, and it was shocking because they're just known for nothing but quality, really. And over the past 5 years, they've been leaning more into this online DLC versus like giving you an in-game story expansion. And I know none of this has to do with music, but I'm getting there. So they've been working on a DLC, the Grand Theft Auto 5, which is the game they keep releasing new patches for, is set in modern day LA, and they've incorporated, I think, some celebrities into it before, but the new storyline they've released has like you working for Dr. Dre as he's like working on an album. I don't know the contents of the mission or anything, or missions that you have to do as part of it, but as part of this whole thing, Dr. Dre's likeness is in it. He did voice acting for it. Obviously, some of his friends like Anderson .Paak, Snoop Dogg, all these guys are in it, and he did a handful of songs for the album. I don't really know how many it is. I think it's 8 or 9 if you look at the timestamps. But this is the first new music we've really gotten from him since Compton in like 2016, which is an album I was kind of underwhelmed by, but maybe need to revisit. This is really good. Right off the bat, you get the first song with Anderson .Paak and Snoop Dogg. I think it's called ETA.
Yep.
And it's kind of cool how like 90s Dre was so known for having Snoop on almost all of his songs, and this like post 2010s Dre has been working with Anderson .Paak both a lot on his Compton album, and he, I think, executive produced Ventura and Oxnard, which were the last two Anderson
Anderson.
.Paak albums. And so they've been working closely together. So to hear like all three of them on a song together was really cool, and I felt worked well. I honestly don't know the song names very well, but this
Gospel
it's
is next.
yeah, Gospel, is that the one with Busta
M
Rhymes or Eminem?
M.
That's the Eminem. So there's the Eminem feature, which is it's Dre and M. It's cool. And then from there on, you get some more features, some more modern people. But I know you get some Busta Rhymes, some Rick Ross, and I thought that it's a shame that this didn't just get released to streaming the day that it got added to the game, because this is a great EP and maybe some of the best music he's put out since 2001. What were your thoughts on it?
All right. So yeah, the I'm looking at the track list now. We've got the first one, ETA, with Snoop Dogg, Anderson, and Busta Rhymes. So that first track has that Busta Rhymes feature on it. I listened to this twice today, and I fucking loved it. Couple of notes. That first song, ETA, is just classic West Coast Dre and Snoop. Man, it brought me
Mm-hmm.
back to seeing them. The Eminem feature is the opposite of how I feel about Rick Ross lately. Eminem on features have been letting me down. I don't like the features that Eminem's been doing. I think that this specific song, he was too slow, he was too subdued, and I think he needed to. I don't think this was the song to have M feature on.
No, I agree.
I think Rick Ross's feature was fucking awesome. I think the Ty Dolla Sign feature was pretty good. I think the Schoolboy Q feature was pretty good. I really enjoyed this album, man. And you're right. I wish that it dropped on the streamings, because it is very good. But you can catch it on YouTube. We're gonna throw the link to the show notes. I really loved Grand Theft Auto 5, man. I think you let me borrow that game
Yeah.
for on the PS3, and I played the campaign, and I absolutely loved it. I have never played online. I have no intention of playing that game online. I think that the beauty of those games are in the campaign. Just play the campaign again.
I
Um,
agree.
but yeah,
I was
man,
kind of, I think a 50 verse would have helped spice up the Eminem song.
I super agree to that. Number one. Number two, I am so glad to see Corrupt still rapping.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, the features on this are surprising, and you'll have to dig into it a little more, you being the people listening, because the information is kind of sparse and it is what you can find on it. But yeah, I thought it was great, and I really wanted to talk about it and at least draw some attention to it, because I don't think a lot of people know it exists right now.
Well, I'm glad we talked about it, because I had no idea that it existed, and I'm glad you sent it over to me, because it's really good West Coast hip hop. It is very good.
You think it's going to get pulled from YouTube?
If it does, somebody else has just put it back on. You want me to record it? I'll record it. We can throw it. We can throw it on our YouTube.
Yes, let's do that.
I'll do it. I'm not scared. Come at me, Google. All
Use
right.
NordVPN, motherfuckers.
I'm on a VPN right now. I happen to be in Australia currently. No, I really liked it. Hey, I really liked this year of podcasting, and I think that we both listen to music that we otherwise wouldn't have, and I hope our listeners, all three of them, listen to some music that they hadn't listened to either. And I'm excited for next year, and I'm excited to keep doing this, man. This is good. This
Yes.
is a good year of podcasts.
Yes, be on the lookout for new Brandon's Face playlist editions, probably starting. When's the next Friday? Is that 31st?
This 31st. Yep.
All right, probably starting then. We'll start adding some new stuff.
Yep, I'm gonna go ahead and archive and delete the playlist now, and you know what? I'll leave it up till Friday, Thursday rather.
Sounds good.
Yeah, man, you have a beautiful night, and our listeners have a beautiful night, and we'll see you next year. Finger guns.
Peace.
Peace.